This is the Gerry Callahan Show.
I think we have to understand one thing as we sit here one day after a crazed left-wing lunatic shot up an ICE facility in Texas, killing one illegal alien, wounding two others, not hitting any ICE agents, thank God. But we have to understand one thing. They're not going to stop. They're not going to stop inflaming the situation. They're not going to tone down the rhetoric. They're not going to stop motivating their foot soldiers to carry out violence for one simple reason. They don't mind this. They want this. This is fine with the leaders of the Democrat Party. And I'm talking about Gavin Newsom and J.B. Pritzker and Chris Murphy and AOC and Pramila Jayapal. They have no problem with this. This is what they want. I don't know what it's going to take for everyone to understand that they're not interested in toning down the rhetoric. They're going to double down the rhetoric. They're going to continue to call ICE agents Nazis and Gestapo. They're going to continue to label Donald Trump and J.D. Vance Nazis and authoritarian and fascist. It's what they do. It's what they want. It's what they are. We have to understand that at this point, that anyone saying on the left that they want to tone down the rhetoric, that they're not going to continue to use these labels for their opposition, forget it. Just forget it. It's not going to stop. It is how many attacks, how much violence is it going to take for everyone to understand this is part of the plan? This is what we're dealing with. The Democrat Party is the party of violence right now. I don't know any other way to look at this. We hear it. Hell, 7 hours before the attack yesterday morning, Gavin Newsom, who is the governor of our largest state, who is the leading candidate for president in 2028, said that ICE were using authoritarian tactics, were hiding their faces and disappearing brown people. All lies, all slander, smears, didn't matter. So it's not like that shooting in Dallas is going to stop him. And you know what else is not going to stop? These attacks, these shootings. I think we have to take a moment to review what we've seen in the last 6 months. 6 months. And we have to stop. We have to stop anyone who says it's coming from both sides. Anybody who goes with that should be shouted down, laughed at, mocked. It is not a both sides issue, not even close. They could come up with some phony study, some survey and say, look, the right-wingers or the white supremacists are the ones, the real danger. It's a lie. It's part of the tactic. It's part of the strategy. Just lie. Just look in the camera. Just look at your opponent and say, it's the right-wingers. That is a lie, and we have to call it what it is, a flat-out lie. Here's the last 6 months. I just wrote this down sitting here, looking back over the last 6 months. And you tell me if we have a problem from both sides or from one side. Here, April 13th, a pro-Palestinian guy set fire to Josh Shapiro's house in Pennsylvania, the governor. Now, the governor's a Democrat, but this guy did it because Josh Shapiro is Jewish and he is a pro-Palestinian Muslim fanatic. May 21st, 2 Israeli embassy workers shot in cold blood on the streets of Washington, D.C. June 1st, in Boulder, Colorado, 13 injured, 1 murdered by a crazed pro-Palestinian Muslim throwing Molotov cocktails at a bunch of elderly people who were holding a weekly rally in support of the hostages. He burned alive an old lady on the streets of Boulder, Colorado. July 4th, this is a big one. Tell me if you know anything about this. In Alvarado, Texas, 11 Antifa people tried to lure ICE agents out of their facility in an organized effort. They were armored up, they were armed, they shot at these ICE agents trying to kill them. They hit one in the neck. The guy apparently is okay now. But they arrested 11 of them and charged them with attempted murder. They are organized. They were in Antifa, and they tried to kill ICE agents. Do you remember that one? I don't. The media gave that one a good leaving alone. August 27th, of course, Annunciation Church in Minneapolis, a trans terrorist fired on a church during a mass, killing an 8-year-old, a 10-year-old, and wounding 21. September 10th, Charlie Kirk murdered while having a debate, while speaking. September 12th, 2 people arrested for planting a bomb under a Fox News vehicle in Utah. They lit a fuse and attempted to blow up a Fox News van. It didn't go off, but they arrested him. September 19th, a 64-year-old lawyer shot up the ABC affiliate in Sacramento because he was upset that they gave Jimmy Kimmel a paid vacation. He fired into the lobby, didn't hit anyone. This was a radical leftist who used to work for the teachers union. September 20th at Sky Meadow Country Club in Nashua, New Hampshire, a guy shot up a wedding reception, murdering one, injuring a couple others while yelling, "Free Palestine." Haven't heard much about that. Last month, a bomb threat was called into the ICE facility in Dallas. And let's not forget, it wasn't that long ago that Democrats were setting Teslas on fire, vandalizing, firebombing Tesla dealerships. That's 6 months. I think what you're hearing, what you're seeing on the news, online, is an attempt from one side to pretend this isn't a national emergency. It is. This is frightening what we're going through right now. And again, it's not going to stop. ICE is to them, they're Nazis, they're Gestapo, they're authoritarian, they're fascist. And this is what you do to Nazis. They've been brainwashed. They've been convinced by their leaders that this is the answer. They lost at the ballot box. They lost in November. They lost the House. They lost the Senate. They lost the White House. And now what are they going to do? They're going to take up arms. What more do we need to see? This, at this moment, is a good time to ask. And I know I do this all the time, but this is a good time to ask. What if it were the other side? What if it were the other way around? What would we be saying? What would the mainstream media be saying? What would Democrats be saying if this were right-wing violence? I mean, obviously, they're lying now. They're not admitting that they have a problem on their side because, again, it's what they want. But what if it were, just pretend, what if it were the other way around? Matt Walsh, the great Matt Walsh, had a great tweet on this. He posted on X a long post asking that question. And I know it's easy. Sometimes it's kind of lazy to just say, what if this were coming from the other side? But we have to ask, we really do have to ask at this time, what if it were coming from the other side? What would anybody be saying today? Here it is. And I'm going to read the whole thing because it's great. Imagine that we have a Democrat administration. Now imagine that a right-wing radical shot and killed one of the most influential liberals in the country on live TV. Now imagine that thousands of other conservatives shamelessly celebrated the assassination and called for more. Now imagine that in that same week, another right-winger shot up a country club while yelling MAGA. And another one shot up a news station and left behind a manifesto complaining about liberal bias in the media. Imagine that a week after all these attacks, a conservative sniper perched on a rooftop fired on a Planned Parenthood clinic, killing one, injuring multiple people. And imagine this Planned Parenthood attack was just the latest in a string stretching back several months. Is there any doubt how Democrats would respond? Is there any doubt that they would wage a full-scale war on conservatives and have people like him frog marched in front of cameras in handcuffs and leg irons? Is there any doubt that they would declare martial law, label any right-wing expression incitement? Is there any doubt that they would be rounding up conservatives by the busload and shipping us to Gitmo? Is there any doubt they would have Fox News and every other conservative media outlet shut down and its executives arrested or sued into bankruptcy. Is there any doubt that they would take extreme measures, that this would be the number one, this would be the only story, a 6-month reign of terror from one side against the other, violence, death, bomb threats, Molotov cocktails, arson. If that were going the other way, it would change the country. I agree 100% with Matt Walsh. We would see people arrested for incitement. We would see groups like the group that shot up the ICE facility in El Dorado, Texas. Everyone associated with them would be arrested and frog marched. We would see their faces. We would hear about the coordinated effort they made to kill federal agents. And I'll ask again, do you remember that story? Do you know anything about it? They arrested and charged 11 Antifa members. Andy No reported they were organizing this attack at a location in Dallas. That's a conspiracy. That's terrorism. And you don't hear a word about it because, fortunately, no ICE agents died. One local cop took a bullet in the neck. That's what we're dealing with. It's not just a law and order issue. This is terrorism. This is a coordinated effort by one side to use violence because they are losing in the ballot box. Hell, they're losing in the court of public opinion. They're losing in the polls. So they're shooting. They're killing. It is unprecedented, at least since the 60s. What we're dealing with now, domestic terrorism. Now, Donald Trump says he is signing an order this week to designate Antifa a terrorist organization. And of course, the media is saying, I don't even know what that is. Democrats are saying, it's just an idea. No, it's a terrorist group that is much bigger threat to us than ISIS or Al Qaeda or even Tren de Aragua at this point. These people are Americans. They're citizens, and they're using violence, and it has to stop. We have to take drastic measures. This is just not routine, what we're dealing with now. This is not just another day in this country. This is a battle. Hell, Chris Murphy said it. We're at war. They can no longer deny that they are doing what they can to motivate their base, their foot soldiers, like Joshua John, 29 years old, who shot up the ICE facility yesterday. They will attempt to say, we don't know the motive. He wrote anti-ICE on the bullet. And then they said, well, that's kind of suspicious. He has an avatar on his social media of him as a communist, him with a hammer and sickle and a gun. I think we know where he stands. I think we understand he wasn't there to kill illegal aliens. It's what he did, but that wasn't his motive. His brother, Noah, told NBC News, he's no marksman, that's for sure. Just like the guys, the Antifa scum in El Dorado. He's a bad shot, thank God. But the media, the Democrats, they don't want to own this. They should. This is their guy. He was shooting at Nazis. He was shooting at Gestapo. That's what he was told. They're Nazis, they're Gestapo, they're disappearing brown people. So he decided to choose violence. Now, what do? They'll say, we don't really know why he did it. Give me that CNN clip. This is this morning, after all we've learned in the last day. This is what our CNN reported live from the scene in Dallas. Check this out.
What's the very latest that you're picking up, Ed?
Hi, Kate. Well, administration officials insist there is other evidence beyond that picture that Kash Patel, the FBI director, put out yesterday that suggests that this suspect was motivated by left-wing ideology and a hatred for ICE officers here. But we have not seen that yet, and we'll continue to work on digging into the motivation for all of this. But we can tell you that back out here.
Yeah, you continue digging in on the guy who wrote anti-ICE. the guy who has himself as a communist with a gun, a Marxist with a gun in his avatar, a guy who clearly who comes from a radical left-wing family. Let's just try to work on that motive there, Chubby. See what we can find out. They will tell you motive. We still don't know the motive. I know the motive. He was told ICE are Nazis, and he said the only good Nazi is a dead Nazi. That's where we're at right now. You don't have to look hard to find Democrats who are inflaming the situation, who aren't toning down the rhetoric. We got one clip. Give me Pramila Jayapal, member of the squad, radical left wing, just absolute lunatic, as Trump would call her, left wing lunatic. Here she is, not long ago, explaining what Democrats have to do, what the resistance should be considering as they fight Trump and they fight ICE. Listen to her words. You tell me if she has any interest in civil discourse or toning down the rhetoric. Go ahead.
We might call this getting strike ready. I think of it as getting us strike ready or street ready. And part of that is understanding our own strength. And as we develop that strength, being able to assess our risk tolerance, because we know that risk tolerance increases as the severity of the situation increases and as our own understanding of what's happening increases. So overall, the more we understand what's effective, what the risks are, and who's ready to participate, the more impact we can have.
Does that sound like a woman who has a problem with political violence? Do you think she was, after Charlie Kirk was assassinated, do you think she was saying, "Oh, that's a shame. I disagreed with him, but he was just expressing his First Amendment right"? Of course not. She wants them strike ready, street ready. Strike? What kind of strike? The strike we saw yesterday in Dallas, the strike we saw in Utah when Charlie Kirk was assassinated. They don't have a problem with this. They aren't trying to tamp this down. They don't want it to stop. We have to understand that. We have to understand what we're up against. We still don't. Even after I explained to you, I listed what we've dealt with for the last 6 months, you will still hear Democrats say, "What about Paul Pelosi?" What? Paul Pelosi was hit in the head with a hammer by a crazy, homeless, mentally ill, illegal alien who had BLM signs in his commune. That is, or the woman in Melissa Hortman in Minnesota. No one knew who she was. No Republican was demonizing her, calling her a Nazi, saying she's a fascist. We didn't even know who she was. And besides that, she was killed by a mentally ill Democrat, former appointee, Tim Walz appointee, who said Tim Walz wanted him to kill Amy Klobuchar. What does that have to do with it? There's no comparison between that and an organized group of Antifa people luring ICE agents out of their office to shoot them dead. That doesn't happen on our side. It doesn't. And anyone who says it does is lying to you. That's all they can do at this point. They will lie. They will say it's a both sides issue. It is not. And we don't have to look far to see what's happening here. They know ICE is doing their job. They know ICE, they know 77 million people voted for this, that they're following the law, that they're removing illegal aliens, criminals, dangerous people. But and they can't make a case against it. These are criminals. We're getting them out. So their decision is let's just demonize them. Let's call them Nazis and see what happens. Give me that NBC story, because it's not just the Democrats, it's the media, of course. This was just the other day. This is an amazing story. ICE agents are tracking this illegal alien criminal wanted for domestic violence charges, among others, in Leominster, Massachusetts. He's with his 5-year-old daughter in the car. He gets out of the car and runs, leaving the girl behind. ICE takes care of her, takes the poor kid, And here's how NBC reports it. ICE held 5-year-old autistic girl in Massachusetts to pressure father to surrender. Democrats ran with that. Ilhan Omar said it's time to eliminate ICE because of that. It's a total lie. NBC News just flat out lied. Put a target on ICE's back. That's what they did. Here's the truth, and God bless the Homeland Security and ICE, and they're pretty good on social media at correcting the record. Their account, Homeland Security writes, NBC News, these smears are sick. Our ICE agents never used a 5-year-old girl as bait. The criminal illegal alien target of the operation, with previous arrests for domestic abuse, strangulation, and vandalizing property, abandoned his own child in a car. Edward Hip Maya, a criminal illegal from Guatemala, ignored law enforcement emergency lights and darted inside his house, abandoning his 5-year-old daughter in the car. Officers helped rescue the child and called local police to report the abandonment. Stop the smears, stop the lies. NBC took the story down because it was untrue. It was a lie designed to do exactly what it did, to inflame the situation, to further demonize ICE, to get people like Ilhan Omar to call for the elimination of ICE because they use an autistic 5-year-old as bait. Every time you see one of these stories, it invariably turns out to be false. Turns out to be a smear, a lie. And what's the result? Some people, they take drastic measures. They pick up a gun. They start shooting at ICE. They start throwing bricks and rocks and Molotov cocktails. That's the response from the street animals, as Jesse Kelly calls them, in the Democrat Party. I want to get to one more illegal alien because this is just this morning. This is what we're talking about here. This is out of Virginia, Virginia, which is ground zero for this, for what we're dealing with. In Virginia, a 22-year-old illegal alien arrested. Let me get all the details of this because I want to get it right. A 22-year-old illegal alien arrested for strangling his 8-month-old sister to death. An 8-month-old baby. This is from Washington, NBC4. A man accused of strangling his 8-month-old sister last week received a deportation order. The 8-month-old girl was attacked on September 17th and died Tuesday. She was found with a white charging cord around her neck. The baby's brother, Alvaro Maya Ayala, 22, is in custody, and federal immigration authorities say he was in the country illegally. A baby with a white cord around her neck, dead. This man was arrested last year, and ICE had a deportation order, and it was ignored, and he was released in Virginia, in Leesburg, Virginia. That's who they're trying to get out of the country. If the Biden administration respected ICE and respected the deportation order, this 8-month-old baby would be alive. This scum, this maggot would have been deported. When you hear J.B. Pritzker and Gavin Newsom and Chris Murphy demonizing ICE, think of this. They want this guy here. They want him released. He was released after an arrest last year, and he went on to strangle his 8-month-old baby to death. This is out of control. It really is. This is what ICE is doing. This is why I call them heroes. This is why I say they're doing God's work. They're getting the worst of the worst still out of the country. We still don't know anything about the Mexican national who was killed yesterday by a crazed left-wing gunman, or the 2 illegals who were injured, but I'm curious. I'm curious to find out. He shot up a van thinking he was going to hit ICE agents, and he hit illegal aliens. That's how bad these guys are. Thankfully. All right, but I want to play this Greg Gutfeld clip because here's how to deal with people, with the liars on the left who say it's a both sides problem. What about Melissa Hortman? What about Paul Pelosi? Or even better, what about Oklahoma City 30 years ago or Gabby Giffords 20 years ago? It's utter nonsense. I gave you the whole list, the timeline of the last 6 months. And it's all coming from one side, and it's going to continue coming from one side. We are done with this both side stuff. Here's Greg Gutfeld manhandling Jessica Tarloff, who tried to play that game.
Okay, it's real simple. You label someone a fascist or a racist or a Nazi, it makes you free to attack them, and that has been the ideology from the start. It's weird.
So why?
No. Let me talk.
Trump does it.
What?
Just tell me why it's okay.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Great. I'm enjoying this.
Okay. You won't be for long. The left calls Trump a hate monger. They have called me a hate monger because I ridicule the left. I ridicule protesters. I ridicule academia, Hollywood, the news media. I make fun of The View every day. I make fun of the UN. Guess what? No one acts on the things that I say because my side doesn't do that. We say people are stupid. We say people are wrong, but we don't say they're evil. That is your game. Okay. And then you come and you say, okay, man, this is a mentally ill loner. Well, who do you think does this stuff? It's not Ben Affleck. It's not Tom Brady. It's not even Carrot Top. People who do this stuff are always that way. The question is, who points them in that direction? Why pick ICE? Why pick Kirk? Why target TV stations and put bombs under Fox trucks? Huh? Why vandalize memorials? Why kill kids in Catholic schools? Two things can be true. A person can be mentally ill and you can be guiding him to that place in his life. That is how brainwashing works.
Excellent.
Okay.
He's so right. You know, we didn't target Melissa Hortman or Paul Pelosi. That's not how it worked. And people like the guy who killed Tyler Robinson, who killed Charlie Kirk. Yes, they're mentally ill. He's living with a trans freak furry. He's deranged, but he's not. He got direction. He got brainwashed. It wasn't from his family, from his upbringing. He was told Charlie Kirk was racist, which is a lie. He was told Charlie Kirk's a fascist, which is a lie. They pointed him in that direction. And everyone who's saying, oh, it's time to tone down the rhetoric, forget it. It's not going to happen. They're not going to tone down the rhetoric. Get Hillary Clinton. This is the best example of Democrats who say, you know, we have to start talking. We can't keep inflaming the situation. We have to tone it down. One clip, she goes from saying we have to tone it down to saying Republicans are the bad guys. Listen to this old hag.
We have got to stop demonizing each other.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, I think most of that right now in our country's history is coming, you know, from the right, coming from people who want to dominate. They want their point of view. Writing out slavery from history, that doesn't make it go away. You know, we have got to stop with the finger pointing and the scapegoating.
It's unbelievable. Got to stop with the finger pointing and the scapegoating. And Republicans are writing slavery out of history, which is a lie designed to inflame her base. That is just perfect. We could do this all day. We could, but here's the answer. Here's the other response. Gutfeld was great. He always is great dealing with this. And he's fed up, and I'm fed up. We have to all be fed up with these lies, with this both sides garbage. I love the way J.D. Vance handled this. He was speaking in North Carolina, giving a speech. I look forward so much to our 48th president, 8 years of J.D. Vance. He's already great. But here's him talking about Newsom and Pritzker and the rest who have demonized ICE to the point where their foot soldiers are taking up arms. Go ahead.
Law enforcement. Because here's what happens. Because here's what happens when Democrats like Gavin Newsom did say that these people are part of an authoritarian government. when the left-wing media lies about what they're doing, when they lie about who they're arresting, when they lie about the actual job of law enforcement, what they're doing is encouraging crazy people to go and commit violence. You don't have to agree with my immigration policies. You don't have to agree with Donald Trump's immigration policies. But if your political rhetoric encourages violence against our law enforcement, you can go straight to hell, and you have no place in the political conversation of the United States of America.
That's the response. Go straight to hell, Gavin Newsom, you liar. Yeah, this is on you. And again, if it were the other way around, you think Gavin Newsom would be saying, tone down the rhetoric? He would be saying, they have blood on their hands. They did this. Hell, they blamed Trump for January 6th. When he said go peacefully and patriotically. They don't care. They blame Trump today for the violence, which is all coming from people who hate Trump. We do need arrests. I want to see Antifa rounded up this weekend. We want to see these scrawny, scummy losers rounded up in handcuffs, in leg irons. That's the only answer. We need arrests. And I know a good place to start, maybe today. Let's get to James Comey. This is another one of the media darling, and I tell you what, they have no case. James Comey lied under oath on camera. The least they could charge him with is perjury. The statute of limitation runs out, I believe, Tuesday, so they have to act, and I believe they will. And I love watching Democrats defend him. Jay Tapper saying, Trump doesn't care if he committed a crime. He just wants to arrest his enemies. No, he committed a crime on camera, under oath. Here's James Comey hanging himself in front of Congress. Go ahead.
There should be no fuzz on this whatsoever. The Russians interfered in our election during the 2016 cycle. They did it with purpose. They did it with sophistication. They did it with overwhelming technical efforts. And it was an active measures campaign driven from the top of that government. There is no fuzz on that. It is a high confidence judgment of the entire intelligence community. And the members of this committee have seen the intelligence. It's not a close call. That happened. That's about as unfake as you can possibly get, and is very, very serious, which is why it's so refreshing to see a bipartisan focus on that, because this is about America, not about any particular party.
So that was a hostile act by the Russian government against this country.
Yes, sir.
In that time frame, there were more than
he's lying. He knows he's lying under oath. He did it over and over again. As the documents released by Tulsi Gabbard prove, he made it up. He has to be arrested. He has to go to jail. Lots of people do. Pam Bondi has to get off her ass and start arresting these criminals. He also leaked classified information through a third party to the New York Times. Another crime. This indictment better have like dozens of charges, because this guy is the worst of the worst and a good place to start. Time to start doing your job, Pam Bondi. Arrest this guy. And by the way, he's just the beginning. Clapper was in on it. Comey, Obama, Biden, Monaco. These people all conspired to overthrow, to stop Trump before he took office and to overthrow him after he took office. I think they have the evidence. I think it's time to arrest him and just watch the media's heads explode. I can't wait. All right. What else we got? We got to get to Kamala Harris's book tour, going about as well as you'd expect. I think the book is going to sell because I think she put enough juicy nuggets in there, and she kind of burned her own political future in the process. So she will make some money. She will sell some books, but yeah, there's a few compilations online. She says the exact same thing in every interview. She memorized her answers. She went on The View, which is a good place for her because this is where her campaign ended, essentially, when she went on The View during the campaign and said she would do nothing different from Joe Biden. That was the beginning of the end of her 107-day campaign. But she has another talking point, which is just laughably fake, false, untrue. She keeps saying over and over again that it was the closest election of the century. That's verifiably false. And people are fact checking it and pointing out, She lost every swing state. She lost the popular vote, first Democrat to lose the popular vote in 20 years. She lost by, 90 electoral votes in the Electoral College. She got trounced, but she's convinced herself it was nip and tuck. Listen to this delusional woman just flat out lie.
Another piece of what is unprecedented and a bit historical about that race, it is the closest presidential race in the 21st century in terms of the outcome.
Wow. Yeah. Say that again, because he likes to say over and over again he's got a mandate.
And that's part of why I wrote this book, because history will talk about this race.
Yeah.
It is part of American history. And it was important to me that when history is written, that my voice be present.
I'm enjoying this book tour. I might even have to buy the book. What the hell? She's just out of her mind. Let's go through the numbers. She lost by 2.2 million votes. In 2000, the difference was 540,000. Remember that one? That was tight. Electoral votes, she lost by 86 in 2000, 2004, 2016, and 2020. They were all closer than this election. I'm not sure who told her to say that, but she's going to say it over and over again, and she's going to say it to friendly audiences like The View and Rachel Maddow, and they're going to go, oh, yeah, it was close. You almost won, ma'am. Yes, you almost won. And we're still waiting to see if she does any hostile interviews or, adversarial interviews, seeing if she goes on Newsmax or Fox News or sits down with the New York Post. I doubt it, because the question is, we know she didn't write the book. We know someone else wrote the book. She can't write a book. Did she read it? That's the question. I want someone to ask that. Did you read the book, or did you write the book? Because we know she didn't. She's not capable of writing a book. But maybe we can get her on. Ironhead, put in a request. See if we can get her on. Then I'll definitely buy the book and read it. But
I don't think she's going to end up here, but I'll try.
We'll give it a shot. Let's see. All right. Let's get, today or yesterday, I can't tell you how bad I felt for Ben Affleck and Jennifer Garner. I'm sorry. I have a soft spot for parents whose children go astray. And this is their daughter, Violet. She's a daughter, right? Ironhead is a daughter. I'm never sure with Hollywood kids.
Yeah, a daughter, from what I can tell.
This is her daughter. She's 19 years old. She's a college student. And she had a chance to address the United Nations. Quite a big deal. Go before the United Nations and to make a case. What topic, what issue did she choose? She wants to bring back mask mandates, not for, people who are sick or elderly, for everyone. She wants to put children back in masks. And she did her testimony with a tightly fitted N95 mask. This poor kid. She's a kid. She's not well. Let's be honest. She's not right in the head. This is insane. Saying we must mask children. And she doesn't even say, there's, kids are getting COVID and dying or getting, seriously ill with COVID. She just wants to put everyone back in masks. You imagine being Ben Affleck and watching this and saying, man, where did I go wrong? But here she is testifying in front of the UN.
For adults, the relentless beat of back to normal, ignoring, downplaying, and concealing both the prevalence of airborne transmission and the threat of long COVID, manifested in a series of choices. Young people lacked real choice in the matter and information about what was being chosen for us. Here's what we know about SARS-CoV-2. It is airborne, floating and lingering in the air. One infection can result in disabling damage to almost every cell in the body, from the brain and heart to the nerves and blood vessels. Every subsequent infection increases the risk of long COVID and places people who already have it in greater danger. Here's what we don't know, is what it does to reinfect children over and over and over again with no end point in sight from the day they are born. We are about to find out. As Dr. Akiko Iwasaki says, at this point, the whole population is the control group. And after only 5 years, long COVID has surpassed asthma as the most common chronic illness in children. 5 years. I am terrified for the children who do not or soon will not know a world without debilitating pain and exhaustion, who cannot trust their bodies to play, explore, and imagine, and who will not know the potential of their own minds unfettered by the cognitive damage from a COVID-19 infection. And I am furious on their behalf. It is neglect of the highest order to look children in the eyes and say, we knew how to protect you, and we didn't do it. We have technology to protect.
She's pointing at her mask now. She said, filtered air is a human right. She's fighting for a human right to breathe through a mask. Who brainwashed her? I'm sure it wasn't Ben. Ben smokes cigarettes. Ben's not wearing a mask. Jennifer Gardner's not wearing a mask, but their kid is wearing a mask and demanding action from the UN to put children back in masks. Oh, this poor child, this poor misguided child. But that's her cause. That's her crusade. Get your 2-year-old back in a mask. Oh, these people can never be in charge again. No one's ever going to wear a mask again. They could tell us, the Black Plague is here. You got to wear a mask. And Democrats will, but no one's going to put a mask on ever again. We know they don't work, lady. We know they don't stop the spread. We know that. And they're really uncomfortable. And that's how she lives her life all day, every day in an N95 mask. She's the one that's going to have issues, health problems down the road. But before we go, we have to do, you have to agree, even if you hate Trump, even if you're Jimmy Kimmel or Jake Tapper, you're one of these people who despise Trump, you have to admit he is the funniest president we've ever had. I mean, he is without question. Here is the new lineup of presidential portraits in the White House. And there you go. There's Bush, Clinton, Bush, Obama, Trump, and President Otto Penn. I laughed out loud at this. This is amazing. And there's Trump again. That is the official portrait in the White House of President Joe Biden, an Otto Penn. How can you not laugh at that? How can you not laugh at this guy? He is just so mischievous and hysterical at times. And it's so appropriate. You cannot say, oh, that's mean. He's doing that to the guy that tried to put him in prison. That's who he's doing it to. The guy who tried to bankrupt him, did everything he could to stop him from returning to the White House. I think he has every right to mock and ridicule President Otto Penn. Another scandal, which hasn't resulted in any indictments yet. You know what's good? Pam Bondi has to save her job in the next 4 days. She has to arrest James Comey and arrest many, many others. And you know what else she could do? Arrest Antifa guys, Antifa people. You can't tell me we don't have the ability to prove a conspiracy. We saw what the federal government could do on January 6th. They could grab anybody within a mile of the Capitol. They could use their geofencing and track the phones. We can get these people. We can indict them on a conspiracy to commit murder. We have to see it. We have to hear it. We have to know that the Trump administration, the good guys, are going after the bad guys who have chosen violence. That's the only option at this point. But we'll see, hopefully by this time tomorrow, we'll see James Comey. And by the way, they have to show us, just like they did with Roger Stone and Peter Navarro, they have to be publicly handcuffed, leg irons, frog marched, orange jumpsuits, the whole deal. We need to see that, Pam Bondi. Get on it. But that will do it for today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I'm Gerry Callahan. This is The Callahan Show, and we'll do it again tomorrow.
The President of the United States made it very clear he wants to see me and the hundreds of people who work here fired from our jobs. Our leader celebrates Americans losing their livelihoods. Fox News has severed bow ties with Tucker Carlson after all these years. What an absolutely delightful shock this is. One of the most despicable Mother Tuckers ever to appear on American television.